Computer, Earl Grey, hot. Number 1, why are we shooting the tech on a Wednesday?
According to my readings, a gravimetric disturbance was created by having 2 episodes in 1 week, pulling the regularly scheduled Friday episode to Wednesday. We could probably correct it with a tachyon pulse, but it's going to take a couple of weeks.
Make it so. Alright, so let's talk about what's going on in the world today. Or yesterday, because this is coming to you today, but we're doing it yesterday. Because we're in the yesterday right now.
We have a time machine.
Yeah, we've been watching too much Star Trek.
We borrowed it off that Indian guy from last week.
Thought he was Iranian or something. No, it was Indian. I don't even know. Whoever made the time machine.
Oh yeah, it was Iranian. It was an Iranian guy. We borrowed it off the Iranian guy from last week.
Thank you guys for purchasing BioShock and all the other games. We sold like 150 copies of BioShock through our affiliate store here, so that's awesome. They extended the sale. It was supposed to end on the 15th, so if you guys want to pick up a copy of BioShock or Defiance came down to $43.99. I'm not going to sell this too hard. Just check it out. It helps us. It helps you. Everybody's happy. It's a Steam key. So go check that out. If you like, if you don't like, I don't care. There. What's going on in the world today? There was a code leak. Windows 8.1 has been revealed, and it looks like we're going to have a boot to desktop option. And people are also speculating that the start button will be back. So we won't need start classic or classic shell or whatever I'm using on this machine. I've got classic shell installed on this one. I've got start is back installed on that one. I still think start is back is 100,000 times better. That's my opinion. Classic shell. God, this looks so ghetto.
Much hate mail, like, use Classic Shell.
I know, I've been getting so much mail. Classic Shell runs in the background. I'm sorry, I'll pay the extra $3 for a better style. I mean, the style on that just looks way more modern on Start Is Back, and it does not run in the background. It's a deeper integration, and that makes me happy. So, and there's a lot of other reasons, but I might make a video comparing those two soon because everyone kept recommending Classic Shell. It gives you a start button. I'll give it that. It's got a lot of options. It's nerdy. I like it. It's not nearly as good as Start Is Back. Start Is Back is better, in my opinion. So we get the smaller tiles. We get some more desktop-friendly features, and hopefully they'll fix some of the problems. Maybe we'll get Shadow Copy back.
Yeah, Shadow Copy being ripped out was completely like who? No, I just. Ugh.
That was like the best response ever. You can't even speak. You're so befuddled.
Why would they do that? Do you realize I had to go to the assembler and assemble my own VSS admin? I mean, come on, just honestly. Why would somebody do that?
Wow, Microsoft knows that the people that care that much are going to do that. Except for the people that don't know how to do that. What about them?
We have this really great feature, but you have to you have to compile your own thing to use it in Visual Studio. It's like, oh, great, that's awesome. I can totally do that.
That's exactly what I wanted to do with my Saturday afternoon. Netflix. They're moving from Microsoft Silverlight to HTML5 video. Thank God. I hated installing Microsoft Silverlight. I guess with Windows 8, with the app, it like kind of all joins together. But
well, this is interesting because it's a deeper issue having DRM on HTML5. The W3C organization is all about openness and standards and blah, blah, blah. And so they announced a couple of months ago that they were going to do DRM as part of the video. They're going to support DRM. And now Netflix is like, oh, we can move to the HTML5 platform, so that's good. But DRM generally is bad.
Well, yeah, and they still said that that's one thing that's keeping them from, adopting it immediately is they still have to figure out all the DRM issues, and then they can move over. So there's still that, that hoop to jump through. Once they do that, they'll move on forward.
There was a really good article about a month ago for a guy that explained that DRM is not about protecting the content. DRM is very much not about protecting the content. It's about making it illegal to do things for intellectual reasons. So like CDs don't have any copy protection. So when iTunes came along, you could totally rip your CDs and there's nothing to stop you. But then there was a company called Kaleidoscope there was a company that made a product called Kaleidoscope that let you rip your DVDs.
Yeah, I remember that. You could wasn't that you just put a bunch of DVDs in there and you could rip them all for your own personal use?
Yep, and they got sued into oblivion. And in their arguments, they were like, "This is fair use. People own their DVDs. They ought to be able to back it up and be in our awesome $10,000 media server." No, they lost their court case, and it was not because they were doing anything wrong. It's because DVDs had some sort of encryption protection, even though it was crappy. but it has some
illegal
kind of
break
protection, and it made it illegal for them to do that. And so they learned from the mistake on CDs and did that with DVDs. And so that's that. I mean, you really have to look at that, and that's crazy.
So breaking the DRM is what's illegal, not necessarily making a copy for personal use.
Right.
Let us know if you guys want a special on DRM. Maybe we'll do it. Have you seen the Google Person Finder? They just launched this after the explosion in Boston. I know that's been all over the internet for the last couple of days. The big explosion in Boston. Nobody knows who did it. I'm waiting to see who they say did it. It's tragic for everyone involved. We're not going to really get into... I mean, I don't really know what I would say about it other than, like, it sucks. But Google did open up this Person Finder. And they started it with the launch of... I mean, they launched it right after the explosion. You can go on there and search for people. If you have information about someone, you can go on there and post all your information about someone. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this. I guess someone has to enter you into the database, and then someone can go on there and find out where you are. Like, hey, this guy is in this state. Here's all his information. The only thing about that is that I can go on there and say that Kermit the Frog is in Kansas, and someone else can go search, and they're going to find that I said that Kermit the Frog was in Kansas. That does not guarantee that Kermit the Frog is, in fact, in Kansas. Doesn't even guarantee that he exists. So that's interesting. You guys can take a look at it. You have any feelings on this?
Well, not really. I mean, it's a nice effort. It's a good thing. This kind of thing integrating with mobile is more what I see it's about. So, like, if you Google somebody's name, it's going to be search engine optimized. It's going to show up at the top of the list. So, if somebody enters something, Google knows. I feel like that if your name's in the news, like so and so found dead, that maybe you'll show up. And that's not really the best way to find out somebody's dead, but it's better than not knowing, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, we got some specs for Google Glass. They just came in. Want to go over these real quick?
Yeah, they're non-specs. It's the biggest cop-out for specs I've ever seen.
So high resolution, equivalent to a 25-inch high-definition screen 8 feet away from your face.
What does that mean? I mean, 640 by 480 might be considered high resolution at 25. I mean, just what does that mean?
Yeah. So if it's 8 feet away, yeah.
That's a really long way away, too. I mean, I would never be able to see 1080p at 8 feet away on a 25-inch screen.
5-megapixel photos, 720p videos, so not 1080p video.
I'm guessing, I would just guess and say that maybe the display's 1280 by 720, because that's kind of high def, and I could kind of see that at 8 feet away, but I don't know.
We're going to have to try it to see what it's really like, because that doesn't say anything to me either. We have 802.11b and G, not N. It also has Bluetooth, 12 gigabytes of usable memory. I like the way that they put that. They put 12 gigabytes of usable memory. There's 16 in total. So I like the way they put 12 right in the front, so that's what you see and that's what you think. They say that the battery will last 1 day with typical use, but not 1 full day if you're doing like lots of video recording, Google Hangouts, etc.
So what you're telling me is I'm going to look like an 80s secret agent with a wire coming out from behind my ear, going down in my shirt into a spare battery on my utility belt.
Yep.
Awesome.
You're going to look like a cyborg secret agent. That's exactly what you're going to look like. Let's see. We got micro USB charger, which is pretty standard. And the audio is bone conduction transducer.
Well,
I really want a bone conduction transducer.
It says there's a micro USB charger, but there's a little warning there that's kind of ominous.
Yeah.
While there are thousands of micro USB chargers out there, Glass is designed and tested with the included charger in mind. Use it and preserve the long and prosperous Glass use. What the hell does that mean?
That means if you use any other third-party USB device or USB cord, it'll explode.
Preserve long and prosperous Glass use? That sounds like
written
something...
by a Vulcan.
No, I was going to say it was written by Kim Jong-il.
Is he a Vulcan? No,
Best Glass.
Speaking of Google, they've got their fast, 1 gigabit per second fiber going on. Well, Sony has an ISP in Japan, and they're launching a 2 gigabit per second internet.
In fairness, this was Japan, which already had ridiculously awesome broadband plans as compared with the United States.
Yeah, they've got fiber everywhere, and it's nice. So they're way faster than we are.
Yet actually, services offering 1 gigabit are now common, with providers slashing prices and offering hundreds of dollars in discounts to draw subscribers. So everybody in Japan already has gigabit.
So what this article should be entitled is Sony launches ISP to further mock the infrastructure in America.
Okay, I think that Jay Alabaster was probably paid a handsome sum by Time Warner to be like, gigabit. That's probably what happened.
Did you hear about this kid that lived vicariously through a robot for 2 months?
It's like a portable teleconferencing thing.
There he is. Forgot the speakers were turned on, but yeah, they're on. That's Grady Bot. Grady, what's his name? Grady Hoffman. Now, he needed a bone marrow transplant, and while he was in the hospital, they convinced some people, who were they?
He basically had to be in isolation for a very long time.
Yeah, so what they did was they gave him a computer, and he was able to control this robot with a webcam. He was able to wirelessly,
There have been some interesting telepresence projects on Kickstarter, too.
Yeah, these are pretty cool. If you want to warm your heart, you can watch that video.
It was kind of neat.
Obama has promised to veto CISPA.
But that's actually, like, you shouldn't pay any attention to that.
Another headline that's misleading, because people are going to be like, oh, yeah, Obama hates CISPA. No, Obama does not hate CISPA. Obama just wants a few different things in CISPA that are not in CISPA right now.
And you still need to call your Congress critter and tell them to stop it.
Yeah, you really do need to call your Congress critter as soon as possible, but I'm really worried right now because IBM, they represent a lot of what the tech world is right now. They're sending 200 executives to Capitol Hill to demand that CISPA pass.
This is really disturbing.
Why would they do this?
There's also a lobbying group from Google, Yahoo, and some other ones that Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft fund that were also in support of CISPA.
Now, why is Google involved in this? I thought Google was anti-CISPA.
Yeah, but their lobbying company was apparently lobbying for this. So there's either some disconnect or something crazy going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also, like you said, the lobbying company for several other tech companies as well, but I don't like the fact that Google is associated with this, and they haven't really come out publicly and said, hey, this is going on, and we've worked with this lobbying company before, but we do not have anything to do with this particular lobbying endeavor.
There was an analyst that was saying that some form of this bill is going to pass, and the CISPA in its current form is the least bad of all of them. But, I mean, it's really terrible when government is always the lesser of two evils. You're still electing evil.
Man, this place is going to be like Myanmar in a few years. Well, Myanmar is actually free now, kind of.
Cthulhu versus Megatron.
Who do you vote for? Oh, I'd take Cthulhu.
Might as well just get it over with.
Yeah, I don't mind interdimensional, but when you start talking about something from outer space.
But CISPA's bad. We don't need CISPA. It's terrible. It's a terrible law, and what it claims to do and what it will actually do are two very different things. And honestly, if you're a concerned citizen, you need to, every person counts.
How many of you actually write or call your Congress critter? I want to know in the comments. If you do this, say yes in the comments. You just say, like, I did it.
A nice civil tone letter is usually pretty effective. It's like, I'm a professional working in a such and such industry. I'm sure you're aware of the blah, blah, blah. Here's why it's terrible. Don't do it. Be a representative government. Thanks. Bye. That's all you need to send.
And if you don't do that, you're not allowed to complain about it when it happens. Now, you can complain about whatever you want, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, they're going to put you on a list anyway, so you might as well get it over with now.
Okay. Let's talk about some other intrusive stuff that's going on in the world. Why do I even talk about Facebook? I don't care about Facebook, and this is another reason why I will not be going to Facebook that often. But very soon they're going to be launching 15-second autoplay ads that are going to take over your feed. So you log on. There's lots of different ways that they're speculating this may happen. Maybe they're going to pop up in the middle. Maybe as you're going down, they're going to move from the sidebar into the middle. But they're going to make themselves prominent. I'm wondering if, while you're on Facebook, what if you're scrolling down, then all of a sudden a 15-second video loads and comes up in the middle of the screen and stops you and forces you to watch this 15-second ad before you can continue scrolling. I'm not going to put that past them. So
I don't care. It's Facebook.
Targeted ads. I don't care either. I don't know why people still use Facebook. It's declining in popularity. Reddit is rising in popularity. So is 4chan. Twitter is as well. So
yeah, Facebook has some terrible stuff going on.
The Facebook One app, they did release that, and most of the reviews are 1 star out of 5. I don't know. I'm never going to install the Facebook One app. I actually uninstalled my Fastbook app from my phone because I really don't care anymore. Facebook. So these ads that we're talking about, reportedly they're wanting $1 million for each video ad. That's like Super Bowl ad right there. Because Facebook is as popular as the Super Bowl, I suppose.
Well, and $1 million buys you that level of intrusiveness, so okay, sounds good.
For $1 million, we're going to send agents to people's homes to molest them in their sleep. That's what's going to happen. You're going to wake up and be like, what the hell is this guy dressed in blue doing? And he's going to be like, Facebook wants to tell you to watch WWC wrestling tomorrow night. They still, what is it, WWC, WWE, what is it called? I don't even know.
I have no idea. Every time I hear WWF, but every time I do, I think World Wildlife Federation.
That's why it's no longer WWF.
Which is not even really it. I think it's World Wildlife Foundation, but it's like Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
You just see two bears like suplexing each other.
Yeah, literally in my head there are two pandas suplexing.
WWF. That's what happens. So let's take a look at the EFF.org. They've always got cool things going on. And they are now politely asking the PTO to stop issuing so many crappy software patents. And they're asking something completely reasonable. Here, I'm going to read a bit here. They said, yada, 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 etc. Ellipses. And to ensure that applicants actually provide solutions, we argue that they should have to submit working code with their applications. Do you know how much that would fix? If, when you're making a software application, if you had to submit a little bit of working code?
Well, what the EFF is not telling you here is a good thing, is that when you submit a specific implementation, you're patenting that implementation. So if I have a number, and if I have a function that takes a number and does a function on it and returns a magic number or a magic version of that number,
yeah,
and I patent my function to do that, that only patents the one implementation. If somebody figures out another way to do that,
yeah, with a different set of code, then
that is not covered in the patent. And if there's only one way to do that, then that's considered mathematical. And because it's a mathematical truth. And because there's a mathematical truth, that's not really, you could argue that that's not really patentable.
Yep, and the Texas courts just decided, I think it was a couple weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago, that you cannot patent math.
Yep. So if you have a function that can be reduced to just a piece of math, then that's not patentable. And if you have a function that can only be done one way, then I would argue that that's probably not patentable. But if you have a function that can be done multiple ways, you would have to patent each multiple way that you could do that if you want patent protection over it. This is probably a good result for software, because when you patent something with software, a lot of the time the people that get the patents are arguing that they own all implementations of it.
Yeah.
And then you get absurd things like people suing other people for copiers that can send email
or slide to unlock.
Or slide to unlock. Because they own all implementations of slide to unlock, which is crazy.
Trying to own the idea. Ooh, we're getting out there like artsy. We own the idea of slide to unlock.
Yeah, and patents were designed specifically not to protect ideas, but implementations. And that's the irony of that statement.
And then you get these idiot juries.
Yeah. Like, well, that seems patentable to me. No.
Have you ever used Backtrack? Linux Backtrack?
Oh, yeah, the bootable Linux distribution for security?
There's a new one called Kali, made by the same guys that made the Backtrack. I think it's like a month old or so, but Kane just sent me a link to it to check it out. I like their take on security. Offensive security, they're calling it. So you guys can take a look here at all the different things they do. But, yeah, just if you're looking for a secure version of Linux that you can boot from a flash drive, take a look at that one now. Because Kane recommended it to me. I've not used it yet, so I can't vouch for it. But if Kane's... So the NVIDIA GeForce 7, or the GeForce 700 series, I'm not sure what they're going to call it, might be out by Computex, which is coming up very, very soon. People said it's going to be out like by CES 2014, which is like in January, but this is like going to be almost now. I mean, it's like May 2013. It's so soon. Now, why would they be bringing it out so soon? They're finished with it. AMD doesn't have anything going on except for this game promotion where you buy an AMD product, you get BioShock or Far Cry 3 or Crysis. You get like 2 games, and I think you're also getting Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon as well if you've purchased one. I got one right here. You see the game code on the back right there. If you guys can get that, you get some free games. Good luck. Pausing the video 90 times. This part of the video in the analytics is just going to be like people rewinding and pausing it. But yeah, this could be crazy. But we already have, we've got a GeForce 7 Series GeForce right here. It kind of sucks. I mean, we tried this out with Crysis 3.
7600 GT?
Yes.
So it is technically 7 Series.
Yeah, this is a 7600 GT, right? It's BFG as well. So
we got a whopping 2.5 frames per second.
That was on medium. On medium quality settings. It played it, though. I mean, they're going for low power.
For some reason, this is only a DirectX 8 card, so I don't even know. No, I mean, I don't know. Might be DirectX 9.
DirectX 9, yeah. It's real. We've got it first.
Why did they start over with the numbers? It's bad. Oh, yeah, so we got the 8 series. I got an 8800
Well, they
GTX.
switched around with AMD because AMD, back in the day, there was like they were in the hundreds, now they're in the thousands, and then GeForce was in the thousands, like 7600, and now they're at 780 is going to be.
Ah, okay.
So just to make sure it confuses you, they've swapped. There's a new Metro Last Light trailer out. It's kind of interesting. You see some of the enemies that you're going to be facing off in that game. The game looks really pretty. The environments look a little bit more dynamic than they did in the last couple of Metro games. So you guys can check that out if you are into that. But, we'll talk about this, and then I want to talk about the grandmother. But I do want to talk about Ouya. Because Ouya, the benchmarks are really bad. Like, really, really bad. Compared to smartphones, it's getting destroyed.
Yeah. It's out, and it's really... I think a couple of weeks ago, wasn't one of us saying that it's probably going to be terrible?
Yeah. I think we both were kind of saying that. I said what I wanted was a dock for my smartphone that allows me to hook it up to my TV. Or if I have a smartphone that has a HDMI or something like that built in, I'll just use that.
I mean, I imported some really sort of, fell off the back of a truck kind of hardware from China. I mean, it didn't really fall off the back of a truck, but it's like engineering samples and things like that. And these engineering samples are like bleeding edge Android platforms, and even those are kind of lackluster. I mean, there's like a hardware 1080p H.264 decoder, and they're like, yeah, it's great. It's like, no, it's terrible. It's not good enough to play games.
Yeah, well, speaking of playing games, on the list of all the different smartphones and Android devices out there, the Ouya comes in at 73. It's in 73rd place behind all these phones. That's pretty slow.
That's pretty slow.
I won't be having one. I might be having one of these, the Oculus Rift. Have you seen this video of a 90-year-old grandmother
yeah,
playing
this is awesome.
She's on the. It's really awesome.
Open your mouth and then shot.
It's wild.
Is it too big for your head?
I'll play a little bit of this here in the middle.
What do you? Oh.
I see something coming.
Yeah, you're gonna want to put her up close to something so she can look like
Should
it.
I put my big suit on?
Yeah.
Hey, man alive. Oh, look out to me over the water.
And she so would have been a gamer if she was born in our generation.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm going to tell the girls in my sewing circle. They'll never believe me.
Sewing circle? Oh, man. All of her friends are mostly dead. She's 90.
That's kind of depressing.
She's 90. I mean, she probably hangs out with those guys now. That's pretty cool. I believe it's the end of June, possibly July. I need to double check my date, but I think it's coming up in the next couple months. There's going to be a Supreme Court ruling on gene patenting. And this is disturbing. I mean, a lot of the big companies like Monsanto and stuff have been trying to do this for years, but they're actually going to talk about it. You modify some genes. Are you allowed to patent it? Now, they already determined that with seeds, Monsanto could patent their variation on the seeds, and then they could use those seeds to sue farmers, and there's been 100,000 documentaries.
They've actually done that.
Yeah, they've done that.
Even though they have seeds that you can't keep because it's only one generation of plants, if that DNA somehow makes its way into, contaminates regular DNA, they still sue you. And it's like, but these seeds weren't intended for reproduction, and they win. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've watched several documentaries on this. I'm not a big fan of Monsanto in the least. But you guys can go out there and take a look at those documentaries and how they've destroyed the lives of farmers in India. And it's like 25 farmers a day kill themselves in India based upon what Monsanto's doing over there. And there's other documentaries about, Monsanto wreaking havoc around here in America, Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. But this one in particular, this is going to basically, get into whether they can patent variations on genes that we have in our own bodies and all kinds of things, genetic testing, et cetera, et cetera.
So the problem is people spend a lot of money doing research on genetics, and then they find the gene that's responsible for something. But, strictly speaking, patents are not meant to apply to things like that. The framework of patents never imagined any kind of scenario like this, because the genes themselves have existed since time immemorial, and we've just identified it. And so is the act of identifying it worth the same rights as something that's an invention, that's truly an invention?
And this is also interesting because it's going to restrict access to certain treatments and certain tests that need to be run. Because if a company owns a patent, owns a gene patent that restricts some genetic testing that you need, like it's a life and death thing, you really need this genetic testing. Well, you're going to have to pay that company $2,000 or $3,000. So that's going to be added on to this fee, the doctor's bills, et cetera, et cetera. So are you going to be able to afford that? So it's going to impair your ability to, it's going to impair your ability to get health care.
By the same token, though, there's an off-patent drug that's very effective for treating tuberculosis.
Nobody will use it.
No one will pay for a clinical trial because they can't own the rights to the drug. It can be very cheaply made by anybody. No one is willing to pay for a clinical trial. And so I don't know that having the government, because the government's incompetent, run healthcare is a good idea, but it seems like we need some sort of board that can help do clinical trials for drugs that are off patent, because it would be good for society.
What's good for society is not usually what's good for the bottom line.
Yeah.
Those seldom coincide. When they do, it's amazing.
Yeah, people who need medicine are a captive audience, and you can charge them anything you want, and they'll pay it. And that's really not good for capitalism. I mean, that's not good for... it's great for capitalism, but it's not good for society.
Yeah, individuals suffer. Let's talk about gaming, shall we? First of all, I want to talk about The Witcher. Have you seen some of the pictures from The Witcher 3 that have been coming out recently? They announced this game back in February. The graphics in this game are unbelievable.
Yeah, it really does look amazing.
Putting Skyrim to shame. Just absolutely putting Skyrim to shame. Let's see here. Now, The Witcher 3 is supposed to be more open world, and that's something a lot of people are really excited about. Bigger world, open world, 36 different ending variations. So that's pretty cool. I'm just going to show you some of these pictures here.
Now, this is the group that got the funding through Kickstarter, isn't it?
No, CD Projekt did not use Kickstarter. However, they are all about making everything DRM free. They're going to be releasing this game through Old Games.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it'll be available on Steam as well. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
I thought it was an interesting approach they were taking with the development of this game, because they're putting a lot more work into it that makes me think that there's not really a studio that's, pulling the strings and being like, we only need three endings. We can save $10 million on development and eat that in profit.
Yeah. No, it's CD Projekt. They're all about their users. They're all about listening to us. And they're all about releasing a game without DRM. So, and they've sort of been very vocal about that in the industry. And they've been vocal to the point where they're calling other companies that use DRM idiots. So I like that. Those guys are pretty cool. Let's talk about Bethesda for a minute. All the team that's been working on Skyrim for all these years, for several years, they've been working on Skyrim and all the, the add-ons and, like Dragonborn, et cetera, et cetera. That team has moved on, and they are now working on their next adventure. Some people are saying, they're working on the next Fallout. I believe that's already in development, and there's already a team working on that. So I'm thinking they're going to be working on the next Elder Scrolls game. My money's, I think it's going to be elsewhere. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I think it might be elsewhere. We'll see when it comes out. I don't know. It could be Morrowind 2. But I doubt that. And then
Morrowind 2, Electric Boogaloo.
What? I don't even know. Let's highlight an indie game before we go. We like doing that. Black Space. There's a trailer here, and I don't know much about it. It's a strategy game that takes place in space. And this was on Greenlight, but it just got the green light, so it's going to actually happen. I like the way this game looks. It has a nice realistic look to it. And it's a strategy game set on asteroids. So that's my indie spotlight of the week. It wasn't a very good one. Pistol should be doing this indie stuff. She sent this over to me. I didn't do my homework and look at it. She's like, this is really cool. So what you guys are going to have to do is wait for Indie Watch. That's coming out very soon. That's her show on what's going on in the indie world. We'll have that very soon. Anything else we need to talk about this week before...
I think we're good.
I think it's everything.
Let's do something else on fire.
Nah. So, next week, where are we going to be? In California?
We will be in California.
So we'll try to do an episode of The Tech next week from California. This one's early because Wendell's going out of town and I'm going to California, so No, this one's early because of some Star Trek stuff, right?
Yeah. Something about gravimetric interference, something deflector dish. I don't even know.
Tachyon pulse will fix it
Yeah, tachyon pulse. We'll be back on schedule
in a couple weeks.
In a couple weeks.
Yeah. Subscribe. All right, see you guys next time.